What if the reason you've always been drawn to something deeper, to meaning, to spiritual ideas, to the feeling that there has to be more, isn't a coincidence? What if your ADHD brain is actually wired to seek exactly what spirituality offers? That's what this video is about. Most spiritual teachers will tell you to slow down, to sit still, to be patient. And for a lot of people, that works. But if you have ADHD, traditional spiritual advice can feel like it was written for a completely different kind of human. And in a way, it was. The good news, your brain isn't spiritually deficient. It's actually wired for the very experiences that spiritual practice is trying to create. You're just not being shown how to access them in ways that work for how your brain actually functions. At the core of ADHD is a dysregulation of dopamine, one of the brain's primary reward and motivation chemicals. The ADHD brain doesn't produce or use dopamine in the same way a neurotypical brain does. This creates a constant low-grade seeking state. The brain is always scanning for something that will create that hit of engagement, novelty, or reward. This is why ADHD brains often end up chasing social media, food, conflict, drama, risk. Not because of moral failure, because of neurological hunger. Now here's what's interesting. States of spiritual depth, meditation, prayer, deep contemplation, flow states are among the few things that naturally stabilize dopamine in a way that actually satisfies that hunger rather than intensifying it. The ADHD brain isn't chasing stimulation for no reason. It's looking for a state of fullness it can't easily find in ordinary routine experience. This means your ADHD isn't fighting your spirituality. It may actually be pulling you toward it. Through restlessness, through searching, through the persistent feeling that something more is available if you can just find the door. ADHD brains are pattern machines. They make connections between seemingly unrelated things faster than neurotypical brains. They think in systems, in images, in leaps. Carl Jung described something he called the creative unconscious, the part of the psyche that produces symbols, metaphors, and nonlinear insights. What Jung was describing is a form of thinking that ADHD brains do naturally. The challenge is learning to trust it and to create the right conditions for it to function without the noise. Many of the world's most creative thinkers, inventors, and spiritual explorers showed strong ADHD traits. They worked in bursts, changed direction often, and had an almost compulsive relationship with ideas. The spiritual teachings that have lasted, the Bhagavad Gita, Buddhist sutras, the works of mystics across traditions, are built on this kind of nonlinear, pattern recognition thinking. Your brain is not spiritually disabled. It may actually be spiritually pre-equipped. When you understand that hyperfocus, creative leaping, and deep pattern recognition are features of your neurology, not bugs to be managed, you can start directing them intentionally toward what actually nourishes you. Most meditation and spiritual practice traditions were developed in cultures and contexts very different from the modern ADHD experience. The instruction to sit still for 30 minutes and observe your breath is not inherently wrong. It's genuinely powerful. But for an ADHD brain that is already struggling to regulate, starting there is like telling someone who can't swim to practice in the deep end. It's not that you can't get there. It's that you need a different entry point. Walking meditation, movement as the anchor rather than stillness. Mantra practice, repetition as the focus object rather than silence. Journaling, writing as active imagination rather than passive observation. These are all legitimate ancient practices. They're just not the ones that get talked about first. Throughout this series, everything we explore is designed around how your brain actually works, not how we wish it worked. You haven't failed at spirituality. You've been given the wrong instructions. The right instructions exist, and they work. Your ADHD brain was not accidentally drawn to spiritual searching. The restlessness, the hunger for meaning, the feeling that something deeper is available, those aren't symptoms to be managed. They're invitations. You just need the tools that match how you're wired. This week, try one thing. Instead of fighting your restlessness, ask it a question. When you feel that familiar agitation, that need for something more, sit with it for 60 seconds and ask, what is this actually pointing toward? Don't answer too quickly. Just notice. Next video, we're going to look at something that surprises people, the specific reasons traditional meditation fails ADHD brains, and what actually works instead. Subscribe. Tell me in the comments. What spiritual practice have you tried that felt impossible because of your ADHD?